by adding me to the stream. Hey, everybody, how's it going? Let me check on my tech, and it seems to be good. Seems to be good. Don't want to blow your ears out, so I'm not going to go too loud here. I'm just up for a little bit. Geraldine, Earth Mama, Shaman, Native American woman, how's it going? Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Replay watchers, welcome Cricks, welcome for those of you on the other platforms. Really appreciate all your support and hanging out with me. This is going to be a rather quick one today as there's a lot of stuff going on. Normally what I've been doing here is readings, energy readings and messages, and sometimes a few card pulls if that's what the guides want to your guides to come through. I am primarily an energy medicine human. Meditation for light workers is another specialty, as is breathwork and body work. So you can see my energy is quite a bit different today than what you may have seen. And I know it takes people a little bit to come up. As you show up here, please feel free to chat amongst yourselves. Just say hi. It looks like I'm getting a little bit more activity. So bit by bit on the different platforms. Today, it's been a doozy. I wanted to read a section from one of my guides, one of my favorite poets, and I'll do that in just a minute. The word on the streets today is divine patience expressed through the heart of a human. Caroline, good morning, beautiful. So wait till some other people show up. There are a few, I don't know if they're announcements, but I just want to be, as I have been making an effort to be all along here, authentic and honest about what's happening with my energies. On the one hand, huge time of transition for everybody. And if you've yet to really feel the deep tectonic plates shifting within yourself, here's the last chances between now and let's say where are we? December 20th, 18th, 20th is when some more of the divine joy and light of the season will be upon us for sure. There will be a thinning of the veil, and in fact, there already is, and you probably have already felt that. Everybody who listens to my offerings knows a sense of how I've been talking about that over the last couple of weeks, or some of you that have known me for a while, there's at least one there's at least one people here who knows that the deeper rumblings are what I'm all about. So the shifts for me and for many of us that have been in our deep unconscious, subconscious levels that inform our personalities and how we function on the planet. And so for sure, those have been shifting. For some of us, that emerges as physical issues, psychological, which is mental emotional issues. And for some of us, it's this deep unsettling that leads to miraculous insights and beingness. That's on what I might call the spiritual level. So that's now. That's what's happening now. As we move into, for me, it will be the wee hours on the East Coast, the experience of the solar eclipse. That is very enlightening. And yet, though the conversation with your source energy, Great Spirit, Goddess God, is very potent. The potential for that is so potent right now. There's not a go time. There's not that green light of charge forward, even though you may feel that impulse. It may be a time of simply receiving that knowingness, that communication, that light, that vibe, that feel, for further integration within our time-space reality. Time. The timingness is not potent. The receptivity is. I'll say that again. The timingness of moving forward in expression is not potent yet. The receptivity of those potentials is, however. And so that's a challenging thing, isn't it, for some of us at times, if we can be a being and not a doing of the self, then relaxing back into this receiving, which for many of us is sweet bliss and relief after a time of being cloudy, confused, unsure. Perhaps the confusion will be more poignant because it will be all these huge communications from source. And you're like, "Whirr," screeching on the brakes. What was that? This deeper knowing and this deeper listening. Maybe it will be another upheaval, but on what level is the upheaval? It doesn't mean you need to quit your job, although maybe. It just means this shakeup of where you're shifting your values and your belief systems. Where are my belief systems no longer serving me and aligning me with source? Things you may have not even known surprising you. And then there it is, and you're like, oh, this changes everything. OMFG. And then there it is. What you do with that, not the time. Just enjoy the season, people. Just enjoy the season and what's arising within the season for you. It's a beautiful time for that. Tricky as we move closer to 2022. It's just going to be a little bit easier. It's just going to be a little bit easier, a little bit more coasty. So I just want to let everybody know on a personal level, if you've been following me. So here's just an aside. You can make some tea or coffee or space out for a minute, if you choose. As an aside, I've been doing this whole other project of 108 days of meditation, and I'm well into day 60, 60 something. And I've been doing it, my personal practice with this, an hour or more, plus creative expression every day. I haven't been posting nearly every day like I have been because life has become really big. I've had to really look at some stuff that I have had a lot of judgments around. Shadow work and inner child work has reared its head, and though I do not my resistance of that flavor of work has often been high because I'm very cautious of the tendency to get caught in that loop and being a dark night of the soul, shadow work junkie, and simply spinning out there, not what's meant to be. And the same thing with the inner child work, getting caught in the goofy loop and then not integrating. So these aspects of self, the shadow, the inner infant, child, teen, tween, teenager, et cetera, younger adult, they come up to be integrated, not kowtowed to, integrated. And so that's what I've been doing. It's really shooken my roots, as well as a family member near and dear to my heart is in hospice now. As of this last week, has transitioned into hospice. What that means, moving forward, minute by minute, moment by moment, is clear. There's a transition, a big transition for this woman about to happen. And so there's this on alert kind of sacredness within the family at this point. So you'll be feeling my vibe with that. With all of that said, there's huge transitions. And so my choice today is to be present and show up and be honest and let you know what's going on, to do a little bit of a reading as an encouragement and as a reflection meditation, and then to peace out. I'm not going to be doing readings today because I want to honor the sacredness of what's happening. And, uh, at any time, I could be called. I could be called to move. And so, excuse me. So, with that in mind, that's what my offering is today. And I noticed some of my usuals aren't here. How interesting. Maybe they have their own stuff to be working with. One of the poets that has helped me when my Kundalini was activated in my early 30s, I was reading a lot of poetry as a support system and doing many other things. And one of the poets was a Persian poet, Sufism. Thank you. Uh, and the writing that we have in the West, the Western world, uh, translations. This translator, his name is Daniel Ladinsky. The poet is Hafiz, famous for Forgiving the Dream in that poem and many other poems. And there's this other longer poem that Dan translated from Hafiz. Hafiz's spirit comes to me. It is one of my guides. So the name of the poem is Bring the Seeker to Me. Bring the man to me. Bring the woman to me. So I will try to move into this poem through the she as opposed to the he, so that it can be maybe relatable to those that are here in my time, space, now moment. So the poem goes like this. It's really a story. And it begins with a perfect one was traveling through the desert. She was stretched out around the fire one night and said to one of her close ones traveling with her, "There is a slave loose not far from us. She escaped today from a cruel master. Her hands are still bound." She is seeing this. The perfect one is intuiting this. Her hands are still bound behind her back, and her feet are also shackled. I can see her right now praying for God's help. Go to her. Ride to that distant hill about 100 feet up and to the right, and you'll find a small cave. She is there. Do not say a single word to her. Simply bring her to me. Bring this woman to me. God requests that I personally untie her body and press my lips to her wounds. The disciple mounts her horse and within 2 hours arrives at the small mountain cave. The slave sees her coming on the horse. The slave looks frightened. The disciple on orders not to speak, gestures towards the sky, pantomiming, God saw you in prayer. Please come with me. God, so beautiful. She continues to pantomime a great mashid, which is a beloved of the goddess, has used her heart's divine eye to know your whereabouts. The slave cannot believe this story and begins to shout at this woman and tries to run, terrified, but then trips from her bindings around her ankles. The disciple becomes forced to subdue her, to calm her with great energy. Hafiz now says, think of this picture as they now travel across the desert. The million candles in the night sky are lit and singing. Every particle of existence is a dancing altar with some mysterious force worshiping it. The earth is a church floor, whereupon in the middle of a glorious night walks a slave, weeping, tied to a rope behind a horse with a speechless rider, robes flowing, taking her toward the unknown. Several times, with all of her might, the slave tries to break free, feeling she is being returned to captivity. The rider stops, dismounts, brings her eyes near the prisoner's eyes. A deep kindness there communicates in unbelievable hope, calming. The rider motions, soon, soon you will be free. Tears roll down the rider's cheeks in happiness for this woman. Anger, all this fighting and tormenting want and resistance. Sweetheart, sweetheart, God has seen you and sent a close one. Sweetheart, God has seen your prayer and sent these words to you. And so who are you? Are you the terrified woman being dragged through the desert, lacking hope, faith, and trust? Are you the wise one back at camp, having seen her, calling her back to the fire and freedom? Are you the messenger on the horse with the challenging task, knowing in your heart that freedom is near and that's all there is, and that in this time-space reality, this dance of silent unknowingness is part of the process? That as the messenger, you drag this one about to be freed in terror across the desert, unbeknownst to her that the sacred kiss is about to free her. Who are you? Who are you in this story? Hafiz asks us to recognize this. For most of us, we might identify with the bound woman. Some of us may identify with the messenger woman. Some of us may identify with the blessed woman. That's on you. You see, you decide. Listen again and again and again, knowing that freedom is all there is. Thank you so much for joining me today. That's all I have for today. I must return to the sacred time of my family, where hospice has us on alert for passing of our loved one as she returns in this time, and knowing that a part of us someday will all be here with her in our own sacredness. I will see you next Friday. Who knows what will happen? Thank you, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll do a little thank you banner here. May you have a blessed day. See you next week.